Statistics, Modeling, and Finance, Chapter 6, Evolution of Financing, page 8, Federal Reserve Policies. Trying to predict the policies of the Federal Reserve becomes a real guessing game with serious consequences. Fed policies indirectly influence the performance of the stock market as participants in the stock market try to anticipate future economic trends based on whether the Fed is trying to pump up the economy or slow it down. If the market goes up, it swells the capitalization of public companies and makes more cash available to them as the stock prices rise, and vice versa. In the fall 2006 issue of Appraisal Journal, it was stated, after its unremitting string of interest rate increases, the Fed finally paused in August, an event that was generally expected as concern over the impact of rising rates on economic growth began to supplant some of the concern over inflation. In September, the Fed held off again, suggesting the cooling housing market and declining energy costs had taken some of the pressure off inflation. At the same time, the Fed made it clear that it was more than willing to combat inflation, which continues to be its primary concern. Additional inflationary pressure has emerged in the form of labor costs, which have risen as a result of the flattening of productivity growth and efforts to increase output as companies gear up to respond to rising demands associated with the broader economic expansion. End of page. Page 9. Federal Reserve policies continued. The Fed's role in the financial crisis in the United States during 2007 to 2009 is complex indeed, and is the subject of significant disagreement and sometimes heated debate. Critics of the Fed charge that it created or exacerbated the crisis by lowering reserve requirements for financial institutions to unsafe levels in the years leading up to the crisis. And by acting too much like a partner and not enough of a regulator to the institutions under its control. Supporters of the Fed state that the extraordinary and decisive actions it took in the wake of the crisis saved the U.S. economy and financial system. In the months and years after the crisis, the Fed reduced the level of short-term interest rates significantly and purchased large quantities of long-term government agency securities in an effort to further reduce long-term interest rates. As a result, interest rates reached historic lows in 2011 and 2012. The Fed reported in September of 2012 that these low interest rates will continue well into the foreseeable future, stating exceptionally low levels for the federal funds rate are likely to be warranted at least through mid-2015. Interest rates stayed at or near historic lows for several years until early in 2022, when the Fed began to increase interest rates in an effort to curb inflation. The following graphic from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, often called FRED, F-R-E-D, displays the prime interest rate since January of 1980. Shows the shaded areas indicate U.S. recessions. On the left, I think it says percent, and it starts at 2.5 on the bottom all the way up to 20%. And then on the bottom, it shows the years from, I think it says like 1980, I don't know. 1990, 1995, 2000, 2005, 2010, 2015 to 2020. So here are the recessions. Boom, 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 boom. And then it shows the interest rate up high, going down, going back up. End of page.